Conflict can cause many problems in a workplace, and today we're going to discuss the role of conflict and how to negotiate and resolve the conflicts that occur within the workplace. Before we go into the roles of conflict and how to negotiate and resolve them, we'll first discuss what is conflict. According to Pearson and Custom Business Skills, conflict occurs when there is a disagreement or tension between two or more parties. Now that we understand what is conflict, we will now discuss the role that conflict plays. Today we'll discuss the role of conflict with another coworker, when working in a group, and with the supervisor. The first conflict that we'll discuss is the role that it plays with your coworkers. When you have conflict with a coworker, it can slow down your production, as well as make your final product not as good, along with making the workplace an uncomfortable environment, because there will be tension between you and your coworker. There are 5 levels of conflict within another coworker. The first level is everyday stuff. This is just stuff that happens every day, that minor disagreements and stuff like that. This, as you can see by this arrow, it has very little effect on time and money, production rate, and stuff like that. Second level is uncomfortable conflict. This occurs when there is an inappropriate joke that someone takes offense to, and it can slow down time and production by just a little bit more. And then with level 3 is beyond normal skills. This occurs when there is harassment occurring within the workplace. And once it hits this level, it can quickly spiral out of control and really slow down time and production and affect your time. Level 4 is formal processes, attorneys, mediators, etc. This occurs when there is a conflict so bad that you need to sit down with a mediator and talk it out. And the last level is intractable wars. This is when you take someone to court for what they have said or done, and this can be really time consuming because court cases can be a rather lengthy process, and that can cause you to miss several days of work, along with slow down your production greatly. Next, we'll discuss the role of conflict within a group. Conflict within a group causes delays in the group's work. As well, it can create a difficult work environment and will make group work more difficult. This can cause delays and affect the group work by not agreeing, and then if people aren't willing to compromise and come up with a solution, it can really affect time, and then the whole group might not get their work done. Next, we'll discuss conflict with the supervisor. Conflict with the supervisor is probably one of the most key things you want to try to avoid, because your supervisor is higher, has more power than you. When you have conflict with your supervisor, it can create a difficult situation. It also creates a difficult work environment and makes your work harder, because when you have a problem with your boss, he might assign you more work or demand it sooner than he would from someone else that he gets along with. And it will be a difficult environment because of the tension that occurs between you and your boss whenever you see him, and you'll always constantly be thinking if he's going to fire you or call you into his office or something like that. Now that we have discussed the roles of conflict and how they affect each group with another coworker, within a group, and with a supervisor, we'll now discuss how to resolve that conflict. We'll start by talking about resolving conflict with another coworker. Probably the best thing that you can do is talk it out. Talking to your coworker and see both sides of the story, so you can see where both parties are coming from and the angle that they have on the situation. And the most important thing with all conflict is be willing to compromise. There's very rarely a solution that's going to favor someone completely, so you must be willing to give up and compromise with the other person. Next, we'll discuss resolving conflict within a group. When you're within a group, listen to everyone's opinions, because everyone is in the group and their opinions deserve to be heard. Be active in conversation That way they know how you stand and what's your take on each idea that the group throws out. And be willing to compromise. You're within a group, and each group member has the right to have their information put in the group just as much as anyone else. Although it is the group's decision, so they can't get mad if the group chooses not to put some of their information into the project. Finally, we'll discuss resolving conflict with the supervisor. One of the main things you should do is ask to speak with your supervisor in private. You can talk it out and state your side of the story, and then talk about what he thought was wrong about what you did or said. Apologize and see what you can do to make up for what you have done. This will make you seem like a more responsible employee, and it will show that you take responsibility for your actions. Now that we have discussed the role of conflict and how to resolve it, we will now recap on my presentation. First, conflict isn't always a bad thing. Without conflict, you won't be able to throw out different ideas and opinions because everyone would always settle on their first idea. Second, compromise. When you come to resolving conflict, it is important to compromise because both sides of the story, both sides of the party are going to want to put some of their in, and they both must be willing to compromise and take some of the other person's ideas. And finally, take responsibility for your actions. If conflict does arrive, and even if it's not your fault, if you say something or do something that because someone said something to do something or did something to you, take responsibility for it and show that and apologize. And yeah. My references, I got some information from the textbook, I got some from these websites, and they're hyperlinks, so if you need to check it out, just click on them. And thank you for listening to my presentation.